welcome. Everybody can hear me? Okay, great. So welcome, we're going to get started. It's been a while we haven't met. For those who are joining us for the first time, quickly before we get into today's topic, this is, as the invite said, this is hosted by SWAC, Spa Wellness Association of Kenya. And in case you haven't heard about it, and we will drop the link to the website on the side. I think on the chat, somebody can help us drop the link to the website. The work or the purpose or the reason or why the association exists, we are supposed to be the voice of the industry in our country, Kenya. And our objectives is to provide a platform for this industry, to provide a voice, to advocate for the industry, and to educate, including the public, not just us. This is also it will be an opportunity, or it's supposed to be the platform where we talk about the benefits of what we do, the wellness, the whole wellness industry. This is also where we establish the professional standards, whether for training, for services, safety and products and all those things. And it is through the association that any liaising with the government should happen. And the industry or the association is regulated by the industry, by the government. We fall under the Ministry of Tourism, a department they call TRA, Tourism Regulatory Authority, who launched, and that's who, in terms of the government, that's we're supposed to go through that to anything we want the government to work with us. And I'm saying this just in case some of you joining us today, either you're not members or you haven't heard about the association. But all that information is available on the website. And an association, just like any other. And on the website, you have the committee members who today are here with us. I act as chair. Lucy will be speaking to us as secretary. Felistas is the therapist representative. And we have the others who haven't joined the meeting yet. But all that information is on the website. Today, I don't want us to spend time talking about the association, but what I wanted to highlight, all the other conversations we normally have on the side about the challenges, the complaints, and all the things we are not happy about can be dealt with, or we can find solutions and a way forward by being members of the association. Please note, for us who are acting as committee members currently, this is pro bono work. And the only way for us to work is we would need people to join so that you can volunteer and bring in your strength in your specific areas that you're good at. So even as we carry on with today's very important conversation, this is an invite for you to come and join the association. You can join as an individual, you can join as a business, and all different categories are there. All that information is on the website. Please. The information is on the website. So as we are carrying on, we'll put the link in there, and including what we do and what we want to see. So the issues we have to be able to advocate for ourselves, to be able to achieve the professionalism that we always dreamt of, to be able to even get the government to be on our side. And it is, we're just not able to go as a group, is we need to be able to be here together as one and as members of the association. So we're currently serving, but there's so much we haven't done much because we need you guys to come forward, join, and we take it forward. And with that, I want us to join or jump into today's conversation. What I will do is to Lucy and Felistas, when it's your turn to present, just introduce yourselves. So for those who are seeing me for the first time, my name is Winnie Taylor, and I'm an esthetician, owner by Winnie Training Institute, Body Evolution by Winnie, currently serving as chair. And for me, this is my way of giving back, a platform where, and those who've interacted know, I am passionate because all the things we complain about, I cannot resolve, you cannot resolve by yourself, but we can do it as a team and as a group. So this is the perfect time, guys, to please join the association so that even the things that what's happening or not happening, this is the opportunity to voice. This is our platform to be able to advocate for ourselves. And with that, let's get on with the business of the day. This is an exciting conversation. So, question is whether we are having it individually amongst our two little groups, um, you know, are we? Is there hope that we will make money someday and live the good life that we want? Being therapists, are are we going to run businesses in the beauty industry and make money? Is it that you're just employed by a really stingy person? Or for the owners, is it that we just have horrible people as therapists? And I have paraphrased all this. Today's conversation is we want to look at it from a therapist perspective and want to look at it from an employer perspective. And a lot of times we find ourselves in the both. You're a therapist running your own, you're a therapist employing others, or you're a therapist employed by somebody else. And it's always an issue of how much should I be paid? How much should I be paying them? I want to make more money. Of course, for the both. The owner wants to make more money, the therapist wants to make more money. I don't want to work like a donkey. I promise you guys, nobody wants to work like a donkey. If we can work very few hours and make lots of money, that would be ideal. And the other one is, how do I know that I'm being fair as an employer, but how also do I know I'm being fair as an employee by not asking for potentially too much. So basically, how do we figure out the commissions? So Lucy and Felicitas will take us through this today. And I don't want to break it down because I think they're all intertwined. So Lucy, Felicitas, we're looking for, are you able to guide us? And like this, like I said, this conversation will touch the both of us. When I say the both of us, both therapists and the employers, are we able to get a guidance of how much we should be paid? Are we able to get a guidance of how much we should be paid? And I'm looking at it because I'm reading my notes. And are we able to get a guidance that helps us to be able to figure out something? Because we need to be realistic about the way we run our businesses. Is what I'm paying, does it affect? Are we affected? Do we need to pay taxes or not? And how does that affect what I'm being paid? Or, is that her problem? She shouldn't be making it mine, type of a scenario. So that's what we'd want. So I don't want to put it in any particular order. And I'm assuming we can't talk money if we are also not talking about costing. So how do we put all that? What is the right thing to be paid? What is the right thing to be paying? What is fair? Is there a sweet spot? Is it even possible? What are we doing so that we are treating each other? We want to be treated fairly as employees. We want to treat our employees fair. And also we are bearing in mind that people who are employees today will be the employers of tomorrow. So I'll open the floor to you guys so that I don't talk too much so that you can get started. Thank you. And those who are joining us, keep joining, and thank you. If you have any questions, please type them on the chat. I will keep an eye and we'll ensure or we'll make an effort to make sure that the questions are answered. So Lucy, over to you.
Thank you, Winnie. And as you said, introductions. My name is Lucy Emerson, and I am a SPA consultant. For those who know me, for those who don't know me, and you're coming in for the first time, what that means is that I set up people to set up their businesses in the spa industry, and this subject matter is one of the biggest ones that can make or break a spa. And many a times we have seen, because of the lack of understanding of how to compensate the team that you deploy as an owner, there tends to be that, how would I call it, misunderstanding. And therefore, sometimes it causes for the two parties not to be happy with each other. So, getting down to it, one of the things, I will start it from the point of the business. That way, then I can build it up so that you can understand, as an owner and even as a therapist, what it takes to run a business in order for you to get your commission. So one of the biggest thing that I always say is that a lot of people, there's two ways they look at it. A therapist looks at it from their point of view, that you're selling my services and it is my skills and knowledge that you're gaining as an employer or employee or director or an owner of a business. Whilst the business owner says, hang on, I'm also giving you the facility and I'm providing everything else that is required to run a business. So how do you marry the two so that there can be harmony, relationship, and existence between the therapist and the owner? So one of the things as a business owner you must remember is that there are three major components that we sell in a spa. One is time. That means how many hours is the spa productive? That, and to be able to get that, you need to understand how many hours you are opened. The second one is the services that you're selling. What are you selling? What type of treatments are you selling? And we all know across the spas, there are particular treatments that we sell. We sell massages, facials, manis, and pedis. Occasionally, we have a hair in between a spa, but it's not very common. And then, of course, there are wraps and body treatments and all that. The third item that you sell as an owner is something called a facility. And that facility means it is the treatment room. It is a steam. It is a sauna. It is any facility that is within that space that you're selling. If you have a pool, you're selling that. That is a facility. So once you understand these three things that you're selling as a spa, they become the basis or the skeleton which you begin to prepare your budget. Once you do your budget, you need to combine those three factors at all times. Now, when you get to do your budget, you need to know for sure, you need to understand what does it mean when I have my spa as in full capacity, meaning operating at 100%. How many hours does the spa operate? How many hours are we productive? That is the time which you're working, not the time where there is a turnovers or you're on a break, or no, when it's actually operational. You need to understand how many facilities you offer. Then you need to specify the facilities in those different treatment. You need to specify the facilities for different treatments. You need to identify clearly if you're using the same room or station or different rooms or stations for different treatments. You need to understand that from the beginning. Once you have gotten that together and you've put down your numbers, you now look and see what are these numbers all about. And this is whereby the numbers now must entail, we talked about a treatment, for example. So how do I cost my treatment? And this is where Winnie came in and she started to talk about, we'll even talk about costing. I will not delve into that because Feli will walk you through that very, very intensely. She will be able to give you the comprehensive understanding of how to cost a treatment. But I will just mention that it is important when you're doing your budget, you must have your treatments costed. Everything must be included. That must be the treatment products themselves, the labor, workman compensation, taxes, benefits, linen, supplies, rental, if you're doing any rentals, utilities, any other overheads that would be inclusive. And I'll leave that for Feli. So let's go now to understanding what does that mean. There's a guidance of how we actually pay commissions in the spa industry. Generally, accepted methods of spa or employee compensations are variable. There are many types, but we'll talk about four very common ones. One of the first one is a variable pay. This structure fluctuates directly according to the spa revenues being generated and or individual staff productivity levels. As in the case of commissions, fee for the service, an incentive pay structure. I think this is one that a lot of spas operate with in Kenya. So they have variables. They sort of say, I'll pay a certain amount of commission depending on the fee. And that's why it's called variable, because it will vary according to the revenue being produced and generated. The other thing to understand is a commission pay structure. How are commission pay structures? These are compensate, they're based on a percentage of the revenue per service. Now, when you're calculating your revenue or your commission structure, you start off with all other areas, and at the end, towards the end of your calculation, you will need to include your labor. Those are the commission structures. How will you pay? Now, depending on your business and how you charge the pricing of your treatments, this is where now you decide, can I afford to pay 30%, 40%, or even 50% of the profit from particular services? This is now where the contention is. Therapists will tell you, I want my 30%, I want 50%, I want 60%. Question, have they sat down? Have you sat down to truly cost that treatment? The products that you use, everything that you use. And then on top of that, what is it that the owner wishes to get back because they have put in all the investment? That's where you talk about profit margins. This profit margin for the investor is investment, and they also need to put aside money to be maintaining, because we do know, all of us, that running a spa is costly. There's always maintenance, there's something going wrong. Have we costed that in our costing? Or where are we getting the money from? When you build a new structure and you say, oh, I'm happy now, I can start business, please look at your treatment. Everything you do, every treatment, or all your treatments or all your costings must carry with them that aspect, maintenance. Because believe you me, it takes only 3 months down the road and things begin to show you we are not ready yet, or we are breaking down. So you've just started. Where do I get the money from? So again, look into your costing, make sure that you include those hidden costs that sometimes don't seem to be necessary or relevant in the beginning, but are very, very crucial. So, example of commission structures. We have percentage of sales, a common approach where staff receive a percentage of the revenue generated from their services, or a tiered commission system. Increases commission percentage as sales targets are met, providing additional incentive for high performance. And another way of commission is combination of flat fees and commission. That is, you get a base salary or an hourly rate combined with a commission on sales. So when we look at the way we look at our commissions in Kenya, I think every spa selects either one of these 3 ways of compensating their staff. We also have another method that can be included. Some spas give incentive pay structures. So what they do is they have an overall compensation package and can be deemed as fixed and variable. So you sort of decide, I'm going to have a combination where I can actually give my team incentives, whereby sometimes there could be benefits. You'll get treatments at the end of so and so. So then you say to the team that out of your money, or what I compensate you for, I might give you a base salary, and that you'd select and you choose after you've done your calculations. Then you say, I will give you a commission of the treatment, plus there'll be incentives. And these incentives will be that perhaps every so often you can get a treatment, or your family can get a treatment, or you can, all sorts of things. It's up to you as an owner of a business. And then there is the other aspect as well. When you talk about other things you include, and don't forget, because these are some of the things that are musts for an employer and for the therapist. When you're doing your costing structures, you must remember there's taxes, remember insurances. Now, again, how many people consider insurance? So insurance is two ways. There is a facility insurance, and then there's a workman compensation insurance. Do you include that in your cost? So that at the end of the day, when you're having to pay that, it's not out of nowhere, but it's already included in your treatment. I think in Kenya, we have not reached a point where people are happy to do a team-based payment or compensation system. And this would be very interesting because when you talk about working with teams, all are included, so that you're talking about everybody who is contributing towards that treatment happening. It would mean for you to sit down and really look and see in your business prospect or your business projections, how do you collect all that money and say, well, at the end of the day, we made so much revenue. For example, you make 3 million at the end of the month. You have so many number of staff. And out of those staff, you decide, on this case, I'm seeing that we are able to bring this amount of money because everybody collectively contributed towards this. Of course, everybody will get their fixed percentage or revenue, whatever it is. But there's that little bit of money that you say, how about me spreading this across to the team as well as a reward? And that can be quite incentive. But unless a business is performing very well, sometimes you find that this happens towards the end of the year, which they call a bonus sometimes. But in other places, some people begin to give as early as on a monthly basis. That's the way they look at it. So I think I will stop there just to give people a breather if they have any questions to ask, and whether it begins to describe the kind of pay structures we have, so that I allow Feli to now break down the cost of these treatments to be able to get a commission out of it.
So Lucy, just a quick recap before Feli comes on. So just a recap. So we are saying normally in our businesses, we are selling three things. We are selling time, facility, and services.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just hoping people got that. So we sell time, the facilities, and the services.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people tend to think they're selling, and then of course when you're selling time, facility, services, your fourth factor is that therapist who comes in, who becomes the human resource. But
yeah,
a lot of businesses do their revenue based on their therapists.
yeah.
And when you do that, believe you me, you have left, you are going to be missing out on how much your business needs to be doing, because therapists come and go. You cannot base your business on a therapist. You base your business on your facility, on the time that you need to sell, and the services that you're selling. That is our menus, all the treatments. Now, the therapist becomes an individual who plugs in into the operations. So when they plug into the operations, when you're doing your bookings, you're booking your facility and the services. And the therapist plugs into the operations dependent on the qualifications and the skills that they bring on board.
Okay, thank you. Is Feli, you ready?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Felicitas Maina, as earlier mentioned, or rather introduced, and I'm a spa therapist by profession, and I've also trained to be a manager. I'm a trainer by profession, a trained trainer by profession, focusing more on spa treatments, facials, and overall spa standards that should be followed, or rather what the guidelines are. Also helping train teams or rather empower teams and grow business to a sustainability level. As Miss Lucy earlier on mentioned, I think what most of us, or rather most of the business we are going wrong, is not looking at the bigger picture. How will we be able to sustain what we have started? And it all starts with the pay structure, the costing of your treatment, and that's where I'll come in. As a therapist, like I said, I've been in the industry for the last 13 years, and for the longest time, in my mind, I thought uh, a massage is very cheap to operate. A massage is very cheap to do. So why are we not getting paid like I think it is? You're only using massage oil, which you're buying maybe at most 10,000 for 20 liters. And looking at that, you're doing your math. You're saying if I'm using maybe 60 ml or 50 ml of every treatment, we are doing almost, I don't know, 50 treatments. So why am I not getting this commission that I feel I need? And that was even very young when I was in the industry. And having in mind there's nothing more that I was bringing on the table. When I mean nothing more that I'm bringing on the table is there's that lack of experience. If you're straight from school, you're almost relying on the establishment that you're at that given moment to train you, to give you that confidence, to show you more things to do, or rather how things should be done as you progress. Because what we get from school, it's the basic knowledge. I can do a massage, but you get into a facility or a spa, it's offering maybe 6, 7 different types of massages, but in school, you only did one basic one. And for you to get to a position where the facility or the spa is also benefiting from you, or even you as you're looking at your commission, I need to be able to do this facial, I need to be able to do this hot stone, which I was not taught in school. And you'll find most of the employers are looking for an all-rounded person, because it only makes it easier for it to run, that I have Felistas or I have Wangeshi who can do a hot stone, can do waxing, can do a facial. But as a beginner, you don't have all that knowledge, unfortunately. So at that given moment, you're you're relying on the you're relying on that company to take you to that next level. And let's say you're now experienced, you have gone to several places, you have interacted with several spas or organizations, you have now the knowledge. If you're going for an interview, you have more bargaining power of how much you should be paid. But in back of our minds as therapists, we should also consider this is a business that I'm getting to work at. I want this business, if I'm here 5 years down the line, we are also growing. One thing about us therapists that we don't get to consider is every time there is wear and tear of the linen, like Miss Lucy had mentioned earlier, there is the machines that need to be upgraded. There's a new product in the market that you need to maybe bring out on board. But at that time, in the bigger picture, you're not thinking if you one day need that, where will that capital come from? If at all that you have been doing is maybe balancing our equation. We are told do a 3 million revenue every end of month, and you're able even to hit that. But as your accounts are being done, you'll find that your costings are too high, that your whatever you need to get out, or rather whatever you're paying from all that 3 million, it's almost 2.9. You're only left with 100,000 as the business owner to be able to continue running this business, or to be able to replenish what has been used. Because in the spa, wear and tear is very easy. You're using this linen every day; they'll get washed. Machines, maybe you'll need to buy new ones. There's so much technology that is coming nowadays in the market, so maybe you'll need to upgrade one time. But having as a therapist who is not seeing the business perspective of it, is only saying, I need to make my money. I'm the actually, we all think as therapists, I'm the one doing the massage. I'm the one in the room with that client. Oh, I'm doing a deep tissue, I'm sweating. And yet here I cannot be paid whatever I want. But we also need to remember and to also consider that even that receptionist, even that housekeeper who will come to clean the room, even the security personnel, they are relying on that 6,000 to also be paid, to get paid out of it. So you'll find that if that picture is in your mind, you'll almost push yourself so hard, one, to learn more, to also add so much value in that company that if you're going to the off to the owners, to the manager's office to knock, I'm doing ABCD. I have maybe trained this new person ABCD, or even you're showing some interest whereby the owner is saying, okay, I'm having a senior therapist here who is able to run the show if my manager is not here. So there's that bargaining power you have that in case even the manager goes, you're getting to another new level, or rather you're given that mandate to run the business. Let me go back to how we are doing the costing. So when we talk about costing, like Ms. Lucy said earlier, we are considering the massage oil, we are considering the linen. The linens are the bed sheets, towels, all those things, cotton pads, all those things. We are considering in case, of course, every spa need to have a scent. So you have maybe candles that you're burning. You have those essential oils that you need to burn that scent with, or rather even to do the treatment with. You need disposable underpants. You need amenities in the washroom area, the tissues, the shower gels if you're providing. You might need toothbrushes, all those amenities the guest is using. You you need slippers. On the same treatment that is happening, you'll need electricity. You're running the music, you're running the showers, you're running, maybe you have a hydraulic bed which needs to be operated with electricity. You have water, you have the rent of that facility. As much as you'll find, even if uh, a spa is located in a place it's rented, so that rent is gotten from the treatment that you are performing. And then you also include anything that's maybe overseas, maybe the fence broke one day, or the gardener, pipes busted. So that is something that you also need to foresee at 10% of that as you're also doing your costing. There is guest amenities. These guests came in, they took a welcome drink, you gave them some fruit, some nuts, some refreshments. That is still included on that costing for that treatment. You also have stationaries, marketing. When these person, or rather when the owners or the marketing people are posting these on social media, they need to be paid for those ads and all that. The stationery is what the guests are using every day to sign the health forms, the pens, and all that. And then now you come to a profit margin of that treatment. How much profit margin do you need to make? As I said earlier, as a therapist, I thought you're making 100%, 100% profit, and which is doable. It's very much doable as long as you have done your costing correctly. And this is where the profit margin is what gives the owner or the establishment, what do they take home? What is the business earning for them? And then now you come to your therapist commission. If let's say you have included all those things that I've said, and then profit, your treatment profit margin has come to, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 shillings. And then out of that, the therapist is asking for a 30, this is very hypothetical, a 30% profit. With that, and then consider we had mentioned earlier, the taxes. Are you being paid for tax, the NHIF, the NSSF, and all those things? And then the transaction fee. even every treatment that a guest pay, either they pay via the bank, they pay via M-Pesa, or that there's that transaction fee that the bank gets to cut. Who should be charged for it? It's the guest, so it should be included on the costing for that treatment. If you do that and your therapist has asked for, let's say, a 30%, or I've asked for a 30%, having in mind me, I have done treatment was 6,000, and I should get a whole 30%. If we're doing 30% of that 6,000, that should be, just a second. That's 1,800. 1,800 has gone to the therapist. The owner is remaining 4,200 to pay all those other things that are, rather, that I have mentioned earlier. And you, with a long-term goal or looking for the sustainability of that, it might not go too far, because the electricity, the rent, all those things, with that high commission, and still having in mind there's nothing else this therapist is, or rather we are bringing on the table. So with time, you, sorry, hello, Winnie.
No, I'm not saying anything.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
not saying
so
anything. Sorry. No, I'm not saying anything.
all
But
right.
now that you're asking, is it also possible to maybe share your screen and project, show us something like a hypothetical situation? So even as we're talking about these numbers,
Okay.
guys can see it broken down.
All right, I can do that.
Okay, that would be nice.
Let me try and do that.
Okay.
But as I'm continuing, I was also trying to share the screen. So it becomes hard, or rather it becomes difficult for these establishments that we are working for to go on to the next level, because everywhere you're working, everywhere I'm working, I want to see even the place grow as it is, because as much as it grows, I'll also grow as a person. I'm also growing with it. It's not only saying, oh, yeah, the company is making money, so it's growing by itself. No, as long as that company is growing and you're in it, you'll also be able to grow as the company grows. So let's have that in mind as therapists, because one thing we have seen in the market, and this is very clear, that you find the more experienced, the more experienced, the gap of the more experienced therapists is continuing to get smaller, and it's because one, we almost fear responsibility. We almost don't want to be the one. Oh, I'm training this person. Oh, I'm holding this person's hand. Oh, the manager has gone and she's leaving me in charge. This That mentality, and the more that mentality of us experienced therapists continue, the gap is getting very narrow, that we don't have very managers, if I can say, or experienced therapists in the market. And the young people are coming with such an energy that you might not be able to match. They are go-getters, they want to know it all. But us having a mentality, oh, you're from school, you want me to show you everything. I always believe it. Knowledge is power, and you can only get better the more you share. The more I tell you 1 plus 1 is 2, I'll never forget that. The minute I tell you 30 times this, the more I share it, the more it also sticks on me. And let's, as therapists, we're almost like the drivers for this industry. I'm still trying to share my screen because I've logged on a different
Okay.
thing, and yeah. So as as we are growing the business, let's also grow ourselves in a way that every everything that we do as therapists, like we are the drivers of this industry called the spa industry, and whatever we portray is what will be known to the consumers. And there was this beautiful turn of events after COVID, whereby people, or rather the consumer, got to realize spas are no longer luxury. It's a way, it's a lifestyle. I need to do my facial, I need to go get a massage. Before you'll be like, it's for the rich, it's for the rich. But right now, even new, and that's why we have quite a number of new quite a number of new businesses coming up, because of course the consumer is also asking for it, and we are able to even have several, like, different, the day spas, the hotel spas, and which is good because that means the consumers are asking for it, and if you are able to provide it for the owners who are able to do that, let's then give the best thing. And from that, if you're able to do a structure which is sustainable for the long, the more the sustainability it is in the business, the more we get a bigger pulling and a longer duration of time. As I continue to try to share my screen, maybe I can pause there also for you guys to, in case someone has a question to pop, I'll be able to answer.
Just before the question and answer moment comes in, I wish to bring up the aspect where there are two players in this whole commission thing. As we started, there is the owner and there is the therapists. One of the things that owners need to understand is that if they wish to hit their targets, they need to bring on board the therapist in understanding the, the goals that they have set for the spa in terms of revenue generation. These individuals are your partners in business. The therapists are semi-partners in your business. Why do I say that? Without the therapist, the business will not survive. Without the business owner, the therapist will not survive. So ultimately, these two are very much connected. One of the things that I find very interesting is that sometimes, and this is a very old way of thinking, that why should I tell my therapist how much my business is making? And when you come in as an owner and you start shouting at the therapist, you're not hitting your targets, have you informed your therapist what the targets are? If you wish that therapist to really be motivated, include them in that conversation. That means when you're starting your year, sit down, do your goals and set your revenue and your targets, call the team, speak to them and tell them this is what we aim to achieve. Break it down. There's no need of giving big numbers and it doesn't make reality, it doesn't speak to the individual. So when an owner or manager is presenting these numbers, they need to remember that whatever they are doing, they need to break it down to such a point that a therapist understands it from a moment of every minute that goes by in this spa and I'm not doing a treatment. What does that mean? Remember, the first thing we talked about is you're selling time. So if this therapist is not brought into the picture of what is happening, they will not be able also to assist the owner to achieve the goals. Because according to them, they came to work, they worked, they made money for the owner. But the owner has not shared their goals such that this therapist can be able to understand perhaps you're not really meeting the goals. And what else can you do collectively to increase business? So this is whereby the owner takes responsibility of ensuring to continuously observe the business, communicate back to the therapist or the manager, therefore building that collective or building the vision together and making them feel, oh, we made our goals, we've achieved our goals. Even that begins to tell a therapist, oh, wait a minute, I'm beginning to see an increment in my income because we are achieving or surpassing our goals. When the therapist is working, not understanding why the owner is making noise about goals not being achieved, why the owner is saying we are not doing well, things are falling apart. It's because you've not included this individual. So there is that disconnect. And where there's disconnect, it means you will never ever be speaking the same language. You want your team, you want your therapist to be able to understand where you're coming from. So share the vision. The therapists need to understand what is it they need to be doing when they come to work on a daily basis. If they don't meet those goals, what does that mean? It means if I don't meet my 4 treatments or my 6 treatments today, it means tomorrow I will need, if I do 2 today and I'm supposed to do 4 every day I come to work, and I've done 2 today, tomorrow means that 4 plus 2, 6. So what will I do? And when the person begins to understand that, the other part is that the owner or the manager continuously assists these individuals to be able to understand what it takes to retain a client. When I retain my clients, it means we're able to generate more revenue. When you're talking to yourself, or an owner sits at the corner of the office and just complains and complains, and the therapists are wondering, why is that person complaining? It's because the two of you have not come to a middle ground where you're sharing your thoughts and where you're also hearing what could be that the team is not able to meet certain goals. There could be genuine challenges. So have those spaces where the two parties are continuously meeting and being open about what the goals are, why they're not meeting them, why they've done well this time, what they have learned to do well so that they can continue to do well, what they need to improve, and how they need to continuously generate more revenue. So that means who is involved in ensuring this happens. Therapists will always say that is the owner's headache. I didn't come here to do marketing. Mine is just to do treatments. They are not connected to the whole vision. Sometimes it will require of them to also market indirectly because a client comes to them. This client was not theirs to begin with. How do they market indirectly? They can begin to talk about the treatments and sell or improve the sales. Now it's up to them. This is where you talk about retainer. If you retain that client that the owner gave you, that is a way of increasing revenue. So all these things are interconnected, and at the end of the day, your commissions will tell whether you're doing well or not. So fairly, I was just feeling it.
Lucy, just give us a minute. She's emailing it so that I can project. She's having a challenge on her side.
Pole. Yeah.
So just you can carry on.
Yeah. So for me, I find that when the two sides are not talking to each other, there's likelihood that each one of them is walking on their path. And when you're walking on your path and you're in the same business, let's say, for example, you open the doors, the owner comes, the therapist comes, but both of you are coming with different goals for the day. But at the end of the day, money is expected. How is that money going to be brought in if both of you have not found a middle place? And so it's the same thing with commissions. When you say, I expect that I will get 30% commission, one of the things that needs to be clear, and I need to inform this to people when they're doing their budgets, please remember that when you're doing your budgets, you begin with your income. Your lines are the income, all the treatments that you're doing, which you've already costed. Then you go under that, you have your total of your incomes. Out of that total of your incomes, remember to include VAT. VAT does not belong to you. You're only collecting money on behalf of the government. So please include that VAT, and remember, when you're charging it, you give it to the owner. Give Caesar what is due to him. Then you're left with your money. That money that is left now is, you must remember that your treatment costs, any spa that is doing a good business cannot spend more than 10% of its income for products. That is what Feli was talking about, that costing. It cannot be more than 10%. So that 10% now needs to be deducted. That's what we call products, the products that you buy to do the treatment. Those must be deducted before we even come to commissions. Therapists have a habit of saying, I want to be given from the direct revenue. That is not possible. Who is buying the products? If the owner of the business is buying the products, there is no way then I buy products as an owner, then I give you commission out of my products. How will I replenish? So that's a question the business owners need to ask themselves, even therapists. You need to be fair to the owner. If you're not buying products, the products are bought by the business, they need to be deducted before your commission. So then you take out that, your 10% to 12% on the higher side. Whatever is left of your balance, income minus 10% of the products, you're left with the 90%. Then after that is when you come now and you say, you can now give a commission from the 90%, not from the 100% income. Okay. I needed to make that a bit clear because sometimes that becomes confusing to a lot of people.
Feli, you good?
I have shared it with you. I don't know if you're able to project from that side.
I've not received it.
On
Can I just
Winnie,
share the
wait,
one? Let me
yeah,
share the
yeah,
one. Let me just share one of those and then we can, because I think it'll make sense once
all
people
right.
see it. Okay. Apologies, ladies. We're still getting used to these technology stories. And you can see that, folks. Okay, perfect. Now I just need to, sorry, give me a minute, give me a minute, give me a minute. Just need to open it so that once I share, she's able to explain. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Move this out a bit. Okay, talking to myself. There we go. Back again. Share. Thumbs up again if you can see it. Perfect. Great. So Feli asked me to move up and down, but this is actually something we potentially were working on for micro needling for a survey. So Feli, you want to start there? What you can't remember, just ask me.
Yeah, that is okay. I can, yes,
Okay.
that's fine. I can be able to say that. So, like I was talking about earlier, this is a microneedling treatment. So what do you need one for that treatment to happen? You need the foaming cleanser, toner, numbing cream, the cartridge, the machine pen, the high frequency hydrating serum, the LED light, the moisturizer for your after, and an eye cream. So what you get to do with that, you take each and every product and the cost that you bought that particular product. If it's the cleanser, for example, it's 10,082 shillings, and it's a whole 500 ml bottle. How much do you need for that particular treatment? It's 3 ml. With a 3 ml amount for each treatment, it's showing you that you'll be able to do 163 treatments. And this is where you go back, or rather, as a therapist, we are always, you'll hear your manager tell you, oh, if you are trained, it's 3 ml, please do the 3 ml, because if you use a 10, if you use a 5 ml, the other person uses a 15, it shoots up and down the costing. So if that 500 ml bottle should give me 167 treatments, that's what it should be. So what is the unit cost for that cleanser, for that particular facial? It's 60 bob. If you round off, maybe 61 shillings. You go the same to the toner, all that. So you'll find for that treatment, if you use if you have costed all your things, your machine pen, sometimes one will ask, why am I putting a machine, a high frequency machine, for example? Because this machine will tear and wear, it's a machine. So one day down the road, you might want to buy a new one. So you also need to cost it for each and every treatment that you're doing, so that in case it tears, in case it needs some maintenance, there is money that has been allocated in that treatment for that to happen. So count down all your treatments. If it's the LED light, the same thing, and you'll find these treatments which are using very expensive machines. That's why they tend to be expensive compared to treatments which are just there, no machine is involved. A LED light is a whole 300,000. How many times can it work, hypothetically, maybe without having to buy a new one? Think of maybe 500 times. So you'll have to do a whole 600 treatments maybe to get a new one. That is just a hypothetical number, but looking on what if side. So you find your total cost for that treatment has gone to 1,428 shillings. That's the treatment by itself alone. You go down to the utilities. What are you using? You're using cotton swabs. You're using cotton wools, facial swabs. You're using the linen. You use there is rent. There is utilities, electricity and water, like I said. There's overhead. The overheads. These are stationaries. Uh, and maintenance and marketing. How much are you giving for that? So in this case, we have allocated 12%. With the supplies, you've allocated 5%. And you might want to ask, where am I getting? Well, if you look at the figure on the far left, right? It's already calculating how much that should cost. So where am I getting these? Where are you getting these? You'll even go back to how much did I buy? How much did we buy as the owner now? How much did we buy the linen? How long will they take for them to wash and tear, or rather being washed and need to replenish? How much is the rent? The rent is a total different way of how you go about it. Maybe that is a different training by itself. As you go down, you've seen your costings have now. Sorry?
Sally, please just hang on a bit. I think I just wanted to say on the linen here, we
Yeah.
took the number of linen you have on the bed. So depending on how you lay your beds, how many bed sheets, how many towels. So if a client lying on the bed, on a bed sheet, covering with a bed sheet, with a blanket, with an extra towel, there's a pillowcase and all that. We took all those and we got the prices at the end here from the laundry company that,
Yes.
this treatment based on a laundry company and how much they are charging. So the linen, this was actually the washing of the linen.
Yes, and how the washing of the linen and how many are there in that treatment. Again,
Yes.
we go back to if a treatment you're being told you can use maybe let's say 6 face towels, and you use 10, you see that is increasing your cost in that particular treatment. You go to your marketing, you give it as Miss Lucy had said earlier on, there's some percentage that you can't you can't go over if you're looking at also making a profit. So we gave everything in terms of stationaries, the maintenance of the machines, like we had said, or anything that needs maintenance in the spa, and the marketing at 12%. So if this treatment for now it's at 14.27, we are also adding a 12% for the marketing and all those things, and any unforeseeable cost. You never know. One thing, something might something might happen that you have not accounted, or rather know that it might. So you give a 10% for incidents or anything like that, and then now you come back. You now do the total cost for that. The total will be now the cost that we did earlier, the cost for doing the treatment, and the cost of all these two small things that we have added right now. And it will give you Winnie, maybe you can move your screen to the
Oh,
other
yeah, that's
side.
what I'm looking for. Sorry.
Yeah, and to the other side
And
again.
Kelly, also, just sorry to interject, just in case they're wondering where we were getting this from, the assumption here where I've highlighted at the end where the cursor is, we assumed that the services would be 3 microneedling facials in a day. That was the assumption. So if you know you can get more, you think you can get less, and this was just an assumption to get us, to get a beginning, to get us started.
Yes, maybe you can push your cursor on the other side, because they're seeing the side for the supplies, the profit margin, and not on the other side.
Where, like that?
On your left or right? On the side.
No, there's no more. This is the end.
That is it. Okay, then they're
Yeah,
not able to
that
see.
is it. So this was the total cost. These are all the other supplies that were added, which
Yes.
the total came to 2,000. So let me
Mhm.
do this. After we added all those extras, that's what all these other supplies, linen, utility, rest, nini, all those are the ones that came to 2,806. And then now we play around with assumptions. So that's where that cost, we've added the profit margin, and we've just picked a number, yeah?
Yes, that's just a number, depending on how much you also want to charge that treatment, because your profit margin is the one which will really determine how much you can do for that particular treatment. So you also include your profit margin as the owner, so that you know, if I'm doing my costing is at 50 shillings, I want them to be at, I want 100% profit margin. So you also include that. And then we go to the statutories and reductions. I don't know if that is there. Yes.
It is here. And here we took a typical case of business where you have to pay statutories, and the statutories were all from your NSSF, NHIF, now SHA, whatever it's called, the housing levy, depending on the setup of your business. And the total deductions per employee was actually coming to 34%. So yeah.
So that is 34%. And earlier, as I had mentioned, the transaction fee of these payments, when you're looking at the bank, it's at 3.5%, depending on the amount that you're paying. So in this case, we also included that. And then now you have the grand total of your treatment. That cannot also, yes, you have the grand total of the treatment, which in this case now came to around 8,000.
No, it's 10,000.
10,000.
Oh,
10,659.1.
yes. So with that 10,000, that is not the amount of money that the therapist is getting their commission from. As Ms. Lucy mentioned earlier on, the commissions are coming from before all these other things are added. I don't know if we're together in that. Any questions?
So ideally, based on these costings, We realized if we were to do a microneedling treatment, it needed to have been charged at that price, having added everything together.
Exactly.
Mm. So what Lucy is saying then, commission, for example, if we on the menu, a client comes and they're paying 11,000, let's just call it 11,000 for the sake of this conversation, 11,000 shillings for a treatment. This is where we are saying your commission then cannot be based even including on all these other things,
No.
isn't it? Because this is how much it's costing the business. So it should be minus the cost. So it should be based on and assuming the profit. Should it be based on the profit there, which was assuming the profit margin, but even this is not the net, yeah, but assuming the profit margin was that, should it be based on that? Lucy?
Yes. So basically what you've done the whole costing. And so at the end
Yeah.
of the day, that, what do you call it? That commission, you see, when I said you talk about the income is 11,000.
Yes.
Let's say 11,000, whatever it is. Now,
Yes.
11,000 minus your all these
These other costs,
yes,
yeah. Yes.
your things that you need to charge. Then whatever is left, which is why the profit margin normally comes at the end. Perhaps you will need to interchange that because the
Yes,
profit margin
yes, we
is,
need to interchange it. Yes,
so profit
yes,
margin will
yes.
come at the bottom so that now you can bring in your statutory So you deduct that, and then whatever is left is where you can be able to pay your percentage to this individual. And you're saying that whatever percentage is, remember it also has other areas at the bottom of expenses and all that. So we give them after the income, after VAT has been deducted, because now that's how you need to calculate your basic. So your profit margin will come lower. So you'll do your subtotal, then you'll bring in your statutory deductions, then you'll do your transaction fees, then you get your amount of money, and then you will be able to put in their commission, and then at the end, your profit margin that you want. So that way, then it is fair to you as well as the owner. So just a slight change of how
Yes,
you
to
arrange it.
interchange it. Yeah, the one that Feli had prepared, we struggled to share that. So this is something we are working on that, so, you know, for the sake of this, because we thought, and Elizabeth, I can see your hand up, just a moment. Yeah, so for the sake of the conversation, so that it paints a better picture, and we're not then just talking about, you know, numbers without seeing.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay, so Elizabeth, your hand is up.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Lucy mentioned that there is a 10% deduction of the products. And now they are now here, as what we've already explained, there's another additional of deductions. So now, what is the total percent of all deductions now before you get to the actual of giving out the commission?
So you see this amount here, this treatment amount, all these calculations, what we are saying is, Elizabeth, that when you look at your business structure and you do how many treatments do I need to make in a month, for example, your treatments, if you take from the whole of this times what you need to be charging, the best, how would I say, the best costings of your products should not be beyond 10 to 12%, basically. Are you sort of understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means in your calculation for your budget projections, you need to have your income with all your treatments, and then you put in your VAT, because VAT is chargeable. Then when you get to put that, you minus, remember, sorry, you take all your income. I hope everything is plus VAT. Of course it is plus VAT. Then come to your income minus VAT. Keep that money aside for VAT. Don't touch it. Then you're left with your naked money, which is not VAT. Okay? Then that money, whatever is left, you're assuming that your product costs which is a guideline which we get in the SPAs, is no more than 10% of your sales, basically. So you're saying 10% you need to include or to remove from that income before you pay your commissions. So you're paying your commissions out of the 90% that is left. Let me see whether I have a figure.
So Lucy, I think even just by taking this, assuming this treatment, which is at 11,000, and we're assuming that 11,000 is what the client has paid, you're saying, first of all, we remove the VAT out of that, right?
Yes,
That money
yes.
is aside. We should not even operate as if it's there. So if somebody is quick enough, maybe I can just do that quickly. So 11,000
minus 16%.
minus 16%, it
And then
comes
minus,
to 9,240.
so
So
then
we
minus
have
another 10% from that 9,000 is how much?
minus another 10% is 831.
So now you're paying commission.
8316.
Yes. So you're paying commission based on 83116.
Elizabeth, you got that?
She seems to have dropped off. Maybe
No.
problem.
Yeah, no, I can hear.
Yeah, yes, she's still on. So you got that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we charged, the revenue that came in was 11,000. Immediately we removed VAT, kept that on the side. After VAT, we deducted the cost of the product. And if you actually look at the treatment costing here on top, that came to 1,000 something, that just product alone, because here we work with an actual product. You can see it's actually not more than that. It's not 12%, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then so now we're only starting to talk commissions from 8. So whatever percentage you're giving out of the 83. Let me put that figure
83, it came to 83,160 if I'm not wrong.
8316, yeah. So I'm adding that just so you can see this is not does not affect the numbers we have. That's actually how much you're paying commission from that. And this is why we are saying it's a problem when you're paying commission 20% of 11,000. That's where the challenge becomes, assuming 20% is what you're giving as commission. If the client paid 11,000, you paid the therapist 20%, you've given away, including what was not money that was not income, because you need to replenish those products and you absolutely need to pay the government.
Is where a lot of us get lost in our calculations, and we lose in business, and we wonder why we are not making money. Yes. After you've removed now the commissions,
yes,
then now whatever else is left, now you now start deducting your supplies, your linen, all those other expenses, and you find you'll have a profit margin. This is where you tell from a business, can I really afford to pay these individuals that 30%, 20%? Because any good business, I mean, the SPA, the maximum you can get, anybody who's running a business, they'll tell you, you do not pay more than 30% of your income after costs for labor. Are we together?
And that also, we need to remember that includes your other staff, where you have managers, whether you have front office people. So it's not just a therapist, because you do have other staff members that you have in the business.
So your total labor, or your total salaries, as we would call them, must be the commissions, fixed staff, collectively cannot be beyond 30% after income minus cost. Are we together?
Yeah.
If it is going beyond 30, the only reason that it will do that is when a business begins, because you've got to be realistic. You will not have enough treatments to cover the costs. And I always say, when you start your business, within 18 months, if your business has not broken even, or you're not looking at that, that's why I said the owner and the therapist are one thing. They need to understand you're starting a business. If it is a startup, then it means that for the beginning 6 months, your salaries of some of your individuals will come from your pocket. So do you have that kept aside? Within 6 months, automatically, you need to start seeing that you're paying some of the salary? Is it the fixed staff salaries or is it the commission? Because you see the commissions them they'll take. So now your fixed staff salaries, that is the managers, the receptionists, the housekeeping, those will take time for you to accumulate to be able to get to that point where you can pay them comfortably. But within 18 months' time, that business ought to be doing that. The maximum you can push it is to 2 years. And that is why you look very closely to see every day how much are you doing, how much are you spending, what is happening. If you wish to have a business, this spa business is such that the investment is high, and by the time which you recover your return on investment, it takes a while.
Yeah.
So don't come into the business thinking you'll make a profit within a year. This is not food business. I can tell you in the morning I'll buy food and by the end of the day I'll have a profit. But this is not the same as the spa is not like that. The spa, unfortunately, is this kind of business, heavy investments, and it takes long for the return on investment. And any good business that has done quite well, within a span of 3 years, you begin to see a small margin of profit. You can even be seeing a 5%. For a good profit margin, and when you're saying your business is very steady, it will be between 5 years to 7 years. After 7 years, your business is steady and you're now seeing a good profit margin between 10 to 20% in the spa industry.
And I think that's why, sorry to cut you short. I think that's why we're having a problem. Spa being run for around between 2 to 5 years, then it's closed down.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, we are having two different types of people, of business owners, into which, uh, so far as we're talking, most people, those people who are opening up the stars are investors. Now, my question is, these people, they're not on the ground and they cannot be able to understand what the other side of the therapists are going through. And that's why now the difference comes in. I don't know, it's Felista who, or it's you who, oh no, it's Lucy who mentioned that as much as they're talking, both of them, the both parties, they need to come in a way where they come to an agreement. But now the investors, they are not ready to listen to that.
Yes, because
That's where the major problem is.
the investor is a money making machine, right? He wants his business, it needs to make his money, and life continues. He doesn't care.
And now, when you look at it that way,
Mm-hmm,
if you don't care as an investor,
mm-hmm,
yet
mm-hmm,
yes, you invested your money,
mm-hmm.
and that's when now you want your returns in a short period, which is not possible, as you've mentioned. It has to take like between from 5 to 7 years.
And the investors get frustrated because they believe that it's like any other. Now every business has its how do I say?
Can I stop sharing this? I think you're good now.
Yes,
Yes.
thanks. Every business has its percentile or profit margins. The businesses are not the same. Now, if an investor comes with a thinking that a business is like any other, there comes the difference of understanding what really makes this business thrive. While a manager has been tasked to ensure the business survives and becomes sustainable, as dear Felista says, what the owner is saying, I want money at the end of the day. The factors and the elements that make a business of the spa successful are very different from the bottom line. The factors that make the business successful in a spa, they are called the key result areas, and they are different. We calculate them differently. We have the capture ratios, we have the spa revenue per occupied room, we have split treatments percentages, whether the male and female. So these ratios, statistics that we are watching, and when it comes to the revenue, we're looking at the average treatment revenue per hour, revenue per available hour, average treatment check, treatment room utilization, treatment room occupancy, therapist utilization, treatment room therapist utilization, you find that the owner does not understand that. So you as a manager need to understand, how do you assist the owner to understand what are those key factors that you're watching closely to make the business profitable ultimately? Because this business is so unique. It is not a business that sells things. It is a business, as I said, sells three factors. And these three factors, sometimes they clash. And the owner says, I don't care, I want therapists. So if you're a manager as well, you can think that by bringing more therapists on board, you're making more money. Actually, you will be reducing your profit margins. So you need to see how you utilize your therapist wisely, how you make sure that at all times your rooms are occupied, at all times you're selling and not losing out time, because once time has passed, that cannot be returned. So you already have a loss. So one of the other things that, and this is something that is done very thoroughly, you saw that margin area that talked about miscellaneous percentage. This miscellaneous percentage includes loss of time. Remember that sometimes you might not sell a treatment. How do you compensate that time gone? It needs to be charged. So that miscellaneous factor includes a lot of things. It also talked, what's her name? Fairly talked about the linens. We need to also know how many times can you use those linens, and when do you replenish them? So that 10% covers that cost. So the calculations of running a spa, the way to make a profit is to really look at the costs of what, the bottom line. You're constantly checking your bottom line. You're constantly making sure you're not overusing your products for the treatments, as you indicated. You're not overusing the machines. You're not overusing the electricity. You're not, and yet the ambience ought to be there. So yours is to check the cost without dropping the standards. And so that is very, very important. It is better to cover more when costing than to say, oh no, that's okay, it can do it. No, cover everything. Look at everything. Those flowers that you're buying, those cakes, those special cakes that you're buying for your guests, the amenities she talks about. Those little things that make the ambience of a spa, please include them in your costing so you do not lose out. When you sit down with the owner now, the owner can look at that and say, so how many treatments do I need to make a profit and to break even? And that's where the marketing comes in. The marketing strategies come in when you understand what it takes for you. Once you understand what your capacity is and what you need to be making, and what strategies now you need to begin to put into place to build the clientele, to begin seeing a walking client and people who are doing treatments. So then the owner now, as a manager, you need to tell them that their role is to bring in those clients, because they know probably the niche of clientele that they've built the spa for, isn't it? So now include them into that picture, make them understand. Please, I would encourage you, those who are working for the owners, and this is where there's a huge fight we've not spoken about. Freebies do not exist in the spa world. Are we together? Hiyo inauaga watu. Freebies, I repeat, do not exist in the spa industry. And owners and investors, who you're now calling investors, will kill you with freebies. And then they'll tell you, you have not, mimi sioni pesa. I'll tell you what you do. And I find this to be fantastic. Please record every freebie and quantify it as a treatment that should have costed. At the end of your month, when you're giving reports, you must give to your investor or your owner of the business the cost of those freebies and the sales, the real sales. And half the time when the spa begins, they get overexcited. You give them the bomb, they are like, what just happened? I gave more freebies than I made money.
Mhm.
do you think that person is going to come back and give freebies?
Nope.
So again, how do you make and bring consciousness to that investor constantly about this business? You're responsible as managers.
And then Lucy, even if somebody is not a manager, in case you're working in a place where there's no manager per se, I think this is where the role of the therapist, because as much as these owners are so-called investors, if you are the therapist and you're not advising the right thing, they will not get it. So the clientele, the market you're serving or that you're seeking to serve, and you have services that either don't meet that clientele, that caliber, or the other way around, it becomes a challenge one. So I think it is important for therapists to empower themselves. And by getting to know information like this, because most of us are the ones who end up leaving and starting our own businesses, right? So let's not worry so much about investors. Let's worry about ourselves, who eventually we all want to run our own businesses. And when we step out, despite being therapists, then you're wondering how come even you're struggling. That's one. This is also the reason why I can't say Liz is charging 5K for a facial, and because we are neighbors, I'm going to make mine 4-5. So that Liz can lose her clients and they come to mine. This is also a danger when we are coaching without even knowing whether the therapist understands these things, right? And then finally, it's also the other thing when we say no, but the therapists can buy their own products. From those projections, the actual cost of the products was not the highest. Product is not the only cost. There
No.
are these other costs. So for me, it gets concerning. Oh no, but do we have, okay, they can buy their own products and therefore they can get a 50%. We are going 50-50. We haven't even spoken about the capital. That was the capital outlay to set up this business. Even if assume you're rich and you have money and you want to replenish that money. I mean, and I'm saying that would be the best case scenario. But what if you've borrowed? Also, you've taken a loan. You want to be able to pay that loan back, and that should also reflect in your monthly costings as well. So I think this is an opportunity whether for therapists, and I said, forget, even if you're working for somebody else, I think making sense, because then thinking you're going to be paid in a way that finishes somebody else's business. And this is also where we need to be sensible. Just so that I'm the one at the reception, I'm booking Feli, who is my friend, and I'm not booking Elizabeth because I had a fight with Elizabeth. So I book Feli, who cannot a manicure, because I don't want to give you a treatment because I'm beefing with you. Then Feli drops the ball. That's also how we're losing. So we worry so much about marketing, but we're not worried about retaining. This is where the people you put at the reception, they don't need to be your relas. They don't need to be at the people you trust. Meaning, because a lot of times you say, Nani, me, I trust her, she can't steal from me. It's not about that. It's about making critical business decision that a facial client has walked in. We were just looking at microneedling. Don't give it to a therapist who can just do a basic facial. They have not even done full anatomy physiology to know the dangers of that they can inflict with that little pen. It is then the right therapist for the right treatment so that we can retain, and then therefore we can continue growing the business. So it's a whole combination of things. And this is also why for me, you'd rather have two therapists instead of one who can do everything, yet some of those things they don't know what to do. They've been a massage therapist for so long, but you've just shown them how to do facials. You'd rather hire somebody who then has specialized in facials so that they can deliver the best facials and you're able to maximize.
Rather than having a jack of it all.
Yes, we need to stop being, and there's nothing wrong if you can do all the treatments, but even those of us who are jack of all trades, there are those you tend to lean more areas that you feel they're your areas of forte. Rather let therapists stick to those areas and they deliver the best possible treatment and they understand instead of just, doing methods.
But you see, the problem
Sorry,
is,
I
let
mean these
me let
words.
me let me share my views here.
Mm.
Number one, the
Mm.
therapists whom we have, they don't like working as a team. Reason, I do not know why. I remember when I used to work, when I was being employed, we used to work as a team. We were 11, 12 staffs. And we all used to work as a team. And we had one goal that no client can come in and leave and go do another service somewhere else while we can be able to do all the services there. So that means you're working as a team, with starting from the hairdresser to the beautician to the facialist to the manicure pedicurist. So everything is done under one roof for one client, and everybody has done a service. But now here, when it comes to the therapists whom you're having now, they don't want to work as a team. They don't want to share clients. I don't know. They feel, okay, I have never understood this thing of owning the client because,
Can I respond to you, Elizabeth? Can I help
yes.
you with that?
Hmm.
So one of the things that I find very interesting, I'll give you a very real scenario. Let me ask you a question in return. You sound as though you own a space, right? Am I
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
Now, let us start from the beginning. When your therapist came in, when you picked up your team, let me put it that way,
Hmm.
what is it that you gave them to understand your culture of the company?
Mhm.
One, ask yourself that question,
Mm.
because this is where it all begins, and
Mm.
it's called building a successful team.
Mm.
When you talk about a team, is that together all make it, isn't it? So
Mm.
if you are the owner and what you did was to pick one therapist from there, another therapist from there, another one from there, they came with their own cultures, correct?
Mm. Mm.
You picked them because they had the skills, which is given.
Mm.
What did you do to tell them that when you come now to my space, this is my culture? What training did you take them through for them to understand your culture and your brand? Every business person I've had complain, open and close this business, is because they pick up therapists based on skills, but not based on the right attitudes.
Absolutely.
At the end
That
of the
one I
day,
agree with you. Yes.
attitude is 90%, 10%
Mm.
is skills. We all agree on
Yes.
that saying, isn't it?
Mm.
Yes.
However, even this attitude that is 90%, how are we cultivating it to be positive, to fit into our brand and to our culture? If we do not have already a made up culture or trainings that give them what is expected of them,
Mm.
never ever blame a therapist, because you just pick them for the skills. So they're giving you 10%.
You didn't point out your goals and everything.
Thank you. So you told them
Also
just
told them because they had clients from the previous spa.
there you and there's one
You
saddest
watched
thing.
them.
In fact, one of the saddest things that I keep hearing about people is that they're poaching therapists because they have clients. Let me tell you,
Mm.
no client follows a therapist unless the next space has equivalent service and facility in terms of where they came from. If you do not match it, your client is not moving. They'll come one day, check you out. It was nice knowing you. I'm back to my space. I'll find another therapist in the same space. So this is where we know that there is no competition. Competition is you. Everybody has something special they offer. We might all do the same treatments. You might get all the trained skills, but there's that difference in terms of the way we deliver the service. And that is the key. And that's how you retain your clients. That's how your team, once you've shown them what that is that you want them to do and how you want them to do it, they become your team and they work as a team. But you cannot bring a zebra, a buffalo, a giraffe, a lion into the same house and tell them, I know
And
you have the
expect them to
skills.
cooperate.
And then you tell them, I know you have the skills to hunt. Shikamutu. Guess what will happen? So that is unfortunately what happens to a lot of us most of the times. And then one thing we need to remember is that once a culture is set, it does not mean it sticks. it means that we are constantly reviewing and checking. So what questions are we asking our guests to check us out and to gauge us? I have found a client, as you say, an investor, that when we ask them, they put the form there that has 4 questions. Did you like our treatments? What was the stuff? They themselves removed it. What does that tell? What is the message you've just passed to the therapist?
They can get away with murder.
Murder.
They can do whatever they feel like doing.
So
There's
how can
no
you then come
giving
later
us
on and ask
feedback.
them questions?
Mm.
So what we need to remember is that that criticism that we want the client to give us will actually improve our services, and we must be accepting to be criticized. This
But
industry
people
is
don't
one
like
that you're
that.
criticized. Thank you. That's what I
They don't
just
like
said.
that. They don't like that. Which it helps you to improve.
Now, which industry are you on? I said from the beginning, service. Service is constant criticism, and service means in your heart, even you the owner must love what you do. Once you love what you do, the money will follow, because you will constantly listen to your guests. You will constantly listen to what is not right. How can I make it better? Talk to the team every time, review. How did we do? And the industry must be that every day you're having briefs. This is not an industry where you take chances. Ati sasa tumefika. This is an industry every day you're doing briefs in the morning with your team.
When it comes to loving what they do, the therapists, most of them, they don't have a passion in it. They just got into the business because they feel that they can be able to make money. Yes, you will, but do you have a passion in what you're doing? They don't.
So
That's
the
where the
question
difference
is,
comes in.
dear Elizabeth, how are you selecting your team?
Yeah.
That is where
And
the
I was going to
question
say,
begins.
don't be afraid if you have a team, that's not delivering. You're better off starting all over
Oh
again
yes, clean
and
slate.
doing things right, instead of then you can't keep, people who are not helping you get where you want to go. Because you can't force, no matter how much then you keep telling them, they won't do the right thing if they don't intend to.
They will not deliver.
And the problem is also us, the older therapists who've been in the industry for long. Yeah, that's a problem. So when
Well,
you
Yes, I want to
owners,
hear that. Winnie, yes, us. I'm a non-therapist. Yes, yes, continue.
amtaka kuambiwa.
that's why I said us. Sikusema nyinyi, nimesema us,
I'm one of them.
Well,
Yeah,
Tell us.
We don't want to
know.
be told. We believe that we know it all. So even if it's an investor or an owner, we have the mentality. If, like, for example, maybe the feedback, like the feedback form. I know somewhere from deep down my heart as a older therapist that it should be done, but maybe the last 2 facilities that I've been working at, we have not been doing it because again, there was no standard. We dropped the ball and we want to run away with it and not to be questioned. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So if I go and find Elizabeth, who is an owner, and she also wants to run away with it, let's run away with it, and actually encourage, no, we should not do it. Why are we to see anakujanga kila siku comes every weekend, so we don't need to know what this guest feels ama wants to tell us.
And so once again, Elizabeth, this is an example of conversations that we should be having to support each other. So those who didn't know, you get to know. This is really what the association is about. It's an opportunity, a platform for us to learn these things that we don't know so that it's not too late. And if you need to restart all over again for those who are not doing it, you do. For therapists who are employed, then if you're in a place where you feel things are not being done right, instead of tarnishing your reputation and throwing your career down the drain, it's also an opportunity to move somewhere else where you feel like then things would work out better. So yeah, so as we bring it to an end, really, once again, a call out for guys, let's join, let's do this. This thing is for us. It's not for anybody else.
Yeah.
So I'd want to open up if there are any more questions or comments. And as we are doing that also, we want to really come back and start reconnecting again and doing this on a monthly basis. I would quickly want to ask, what conversation would you guys like us to have next month in June? And you can either answer or type quickly in the chat, or if you're able to answer, you can, just answer and let us know, so that we want to put together the gatherings and address the issues that are really bugging us instead of just picking anything. So the floor is open. Questions, feedback, but also topics that you'd want to see us discussing next time at the next month. Anyone? Shiro? Okay, thank you. That was very insightful. Thank you. Topic for next time? Topic for the next meeting? For June meeting? Okay, so the next one we can just bring a cup of tea, we just catch up.
If anybody has anything they can share with you as well before end of in the next 1 week or so, they can think about a topic and then they can share, and we can see how we can bring it up.
But everybody, thank you so much. I was going to say ladies, but I know we have gents. So ladies and gents, thank you for spending your evening for us to help each other. It was really nice having this conversation. Thank you for making the time. And of course, if you have any questions, somebody has her hand up. Okay, no, she's left.
Sophia.
I think she's left. It also shows she's left the meeting. So please feel free to reach us out, even if you remember something, either wanted to ask feedback or anything. And we intend to do this more on a monthly basis. But as we're doing this, still once again calling out to guys, come and join the association, so we can do this. It's for ourselves. It's not for anybody else. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.